Welcome to this second episode of Reheated Turkeys, and we're going to go back in time for this one. If you had HBO in the 1980s and you turned it on at pretty much any given time, there was about a 40% chance that you have seen Superfuzz. I have seen Superfuzz probably 50 times. Way too many times. Haven't seen it for quite a while, so checked it out for the first time in quite a while to see if it still holds up and see if it's as good and as awful as I remember it. Superfuzz kicks off in 1980 with the greatest theme song of all time. And we find out that our hero, Dave, has killed his partner, is about to be executed, but they failed 3 times, so they're trying again. Our villains are mob bosses who all wear dime store pimp costumes, and Dave eats beans. It's a plot point that he eats lots and lots of beans in this scene. They stress it like several times. Does it pay off? Maybe he's going to do some sort of super fart or something like that. There's no payoff. They literally have this extended scene about him eating beans just to have a scene of him eating beans. We get a flashback to his origin with a rocket launcher. Look out for that giant dragonfly! Close call, it almost wrecked right into the spaceship. Then Dave tries to scare an alligator and shoots his gun into the air, which apparently hits the rocket and blows it up. To be clear, a single bullet from a handgun flies up into the air instantly and strikes a speeding rocket. And this impact is enough to cause it to explode. Dave doesn't die and discovers that he has telekinesis, is able to predict the future. And I should also point out that Dave talks like a mellow Robin Williams doing an impression of Tommy Wiseau.
There was no longer any doubt. I had superpowers. But they would come and go for no apparent reason. I wanted to talk to Sarge about it, but I couldn't get a word in edgewise.
Every time he uses his powers, he gets a theme song. They get a radio call to report a robbery in progress, which actually seems to be just starting, so I'm not sure how they got the word of it so fast. It probably would have made more sense to have Dave use his superpowers to know about the robbery, other than have the radio, because the radio talks about a robbery in progress, but when they show the robbery, they're basically saying, put your hands up. So, how did the radio know? Maybe the radio operator has superpowers too. Super. He falls out of a window, has super strength, and when he takes his girlfriend to a football game, he makes the entire crowd disappear. Then he sees this guy's red sweater and everyone else appears because seeing red cancels his powers. And apparently, he was the only person in this whole stadium that wore red, except for all these people in the crowd shots who were also wearing red. Forget all that for now. Now, let's go back to him making everyone in the crowd disappear. What power is this? Teleportation? Reality control? Where did the people go? Did they even realize that they were gone? When they come back, they don't seem disturbed or upset, like, where did I go? So I guess he just blinked them out of existence for 1 minute, meaning he's capable of large-scale mass murder with his powers. He catches a bullet with his teeth.
Catches bullets with his teeth!
Trying very, very, very hard not to show an ounce of expression on his face. And he apparently caught the other bullets in his gun, which didn't affect his gun at all. I guess they just hit the inside of the barrel and it stopped. The mob boss is counterfeiting money, and it's apparently George Washington's, so I guess that they're counterfeiting $1 bills, which someone says is so genius of a plan, because who would think to check about counterfeiting ones? It's kind of a stupid plan. I mean, yes, nobody checks to see if ones are counterfeited, but, like, I would imagine that probably the money that you would have to put into making a counterfeit one, you'd have to invest something into that. It's not like a free thing. It's going to be ink. It's going to be paper. So to have a counterfeit one is probably going to cost you some money. So ultimately, your payback on the investment doesn't maybe counterfeit 5s if you want to do that plan. 10s? No one checks 10s. Why 1s? Sarge says this.
All I saw in there was fish.
I'm not saying they weren't counterfeit fish.
He walks on water, and I love that Dave is the opposite of any superhero. Instead of trying to keep a secret identity, he's constantly trying to show people he has powers, but no one believes him. Or he tries to show his powers, but then sees red and can't. He heals instantly, and then I guess teleports out of his cast. After he beats up some gangsters, he locks them up in dog cages, and for some reason I guess they feel obliged to act like dogs and pant. He then makes crooks do a dance, and he's eating these flowers. I wonder if that was in the script, or if it was actually just like a bit of improv, if he just had the flowers in his hands and was just like, maybe I'll just start eating them. I mean, really any way that you cut it, it doesn't make any sense, whether it was the actor's choice or whether it was a script choice. I can't imagine somebody just saying, what if he just starts eating flowers? It's not a superpower to eat flowers. It's just a weird quirk. It doesn't make any sense. He uses his powers to make a dog run fast so Sarge can win money, which is probably not the most pure of motives for his powers. He has super speed, and he finally discovers that seeing red is what cancels his powers. He says it's because the explosion was red, which gave him his powers, so red can also take it away, which I'm pretty sure is totally scientific, because why would they just make that up? I'm not sure how that would work anyway. Is it psychological? He has to see it, so is it the light spectrum, I guess, triggering into his brain? But why would that affect him physiologically? And more importantly, why am I so worried about the science of Superfuzz? But wait, I'm not done. Let's go back to the fish truck. If the inside of the fish truck was red, which is why he couldn't find the counterfeit bills when they opened it, how did he see the bills in the first place? He says that they're inside the fish, and the fish are inside the truck, which is lined with red. If he couldn't see the bills with the door open, why could he see them when it drove by? It's almost like they weren't serious about the logic of the Superfuzz universe. Plus, just a few minutes ago, Dave was floating on the ceiling reading Superman comics. I mean, a good thing that there's no red in a Superman comic, right? I'm not done obsessing over this because it doesn't make sense as a handicap. There's red everywhere, so basically his powers would never work. Every stop sign, every stoplight, every Coke can, every damn Trump hat, there's red everywhere. Once a villain discovers this, there's no threat. Wear a red t-shirt and you're Superfuzz proof. I guess in modern times you could counteract it by investing in some goggles with blue tints to the lens so that you never saw red because the tint would dilute it into a purple hue, but then you'd have to walk around like Cyclops all the time. Anyway, Dave then tries the time-honored police tactic of beating a guy up for no reason and tell him he's in trouble, which is a big change from that good trouble going around. When Sarge investigates the mobster's boat, he's knocked out and left behind while they sink it, and Dave's arrested for his death. And now we're caught up to the intro. So when they try to electrocute him, instead of just escaping, he uses his powers to electrocute everyone present. Again, I'm not totally sure of his reasoning here. What superpower was he using? Does he control electricity? Because I mean, those chairs aren't wired up to anything, so I'm not sure what current it was going through, unless it was just going through the floor and no one was grounded. But again, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And plus, how much electricity was he giving him? Was he giving him the same voltage he was getting? Did he just kill everyone in that room? That doesn't seem like a very heroic thing to do. Did he just give them a little shock? Why did he even shock them at all? Just break out of the chair and fly out. It makes no sense. Oh, and then he talks to a fish. Repeat, he has a conversation with a fish. He then finds Sarge's dead body, frozen in the sunken boat, and a few dummies float on a balloon. Sarge is thawed out, and I guess alive? They never really specify if Dave uses his powers to restore him, but either death works in a really weird ways here, or Dave has powers over life and death itself. I'm not sure, I guess because he was frozen in the freezer, like cryogenically frozen, but it doesn't seem to be waterproof, so I'm not sure why he wouldn't have drowned. Plus, cryogenically, like, you don't just freeze somebody to death and then they're cryogenically frozen. Like, they're still dead. Sorry, Superfuzz, that's how it works. So they're supposed to be flying on a big ball of chewing gum, but it has seams. so that's some weird gum. The villains kidnap Dave's girl, and there's some plane hijinks, and Dave brings them down. Now again, they're aware of the fact that Dave has escaped and would most likely come after them. They're also aware that Dave's weakness is the color of red, yet no one wears red or has red to show. He's on the plane, you show him red, he dies. You get away. No one thinks of that because it's Superfuzz. Then Rosie LaLouche says,
"My greatest role. What an ending."
And yes, this was her final film. Next, Dummy. And Dave and Sarge get knocked through the ground, but like 5 seconds later they're okay and calling from China. So I guess it took them less than a minute to go the whole way through the Earth. Through the core, which I guess both of them survived. How?
Thanks to my superpower.
Finally, Dave marries Evelyn, but as a surprise, she dyes her hair red because I guess, screw you, Dave? I know these powers save your life and all, but I'm taking them away so you'll always be vulnerable. I guess it makes a little sense, since they basically make Dave pretty much a god in this. He's immortal, invulnerable, super strong, fast, teleports, heals, has telekinesis, telepathy, super intuition, plus reality warping, and restoration of the dead. I would say that Dave would most likely be able to face almost any superhero, except for the fact that he has the basic intelligence of a llama.
Sorry, I put you through all.
Well, how did you do it?
You know, my superpower.
So there you have it, it's Superfuzz. It's just as glorious as I remembered it. It's awful. It's probably a really terrible movie, objectively. But it is an insane amount of fun. It's really, really bad and enjoyable. So much random stuff happens that it keeps you occupied. Nothing makes sense in this movie. It's so completely random. And Dave's superpowers don't make any sense whatsoever. There's so many gaps in logic. There's not even really a plot. It just kind of goes here and there and here and there. It's just a bunch of like wacky situations. But most importantly, I kind of want to know, like, did Ernest Borgnine just need like beer money? Or did he owe somebody a favor? Or was his career just that much in the toilet at that point? Don't really know the answer. If you do know, please let me know down in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of Superfuzz. If you've never seen this movie, seek it out. You must. It's enjoyable. It's really, really, it's fun. I recommend it. You'll hate me after you watch it, but you should watch it. And that's it for this week's video. Please check out the Patreon guys over here. Let them know thank you. Please say thank you to my patrons for helping to keep this channel going. If you're wondering why you're seeing videos more frequently from this channel, these are the guys that you want to thank because they are helping make it possible. You can also help make it more possible as well too by clicking that the link down below and helping to support this channel. But in the meantime, I'll see you in a little while for another great video. Thanks guys. Bye-bye.